Hello and welcome back to Jack-O-Ween. I'm of course your host, Jack Knives. Let's take a look at the new installment in the VHS franchise, VHS Halloween. Creeping and crawling down your spine. 6 new segments, all centered around the horror of Halloween in this new installment of the VHS franchise. You all know I make no qualms about the fact that I love the VHS franchise. I reviewed each of them. As far as a ranking, I've reviewed the most recent one, VHS Beyond, and I was very hyped for this one. And I can safely say the hype is justified. When I saw the last installment, VHS Beyond, I was kind of hesitant to see what the next installment would be, because I'm thinking, is it gonna be centered around another genre like VHS Beyond? Are they gonna do eras like they did the previous trilogy? But no, they surprised me by instead focusing on a holiday, specifically Halloween. How apropos for VHS, considering it usually comes out around Halloween. So the hype for me was pretty real. It got me excited, it got me happy, and there's segments that go from gross and weird to interesting and well constructed to actually pretty visceral and real, and then dialing it all the way back to just loving the holiday. So it's definitely a movie I feel like encapsulates the Halloween spirit, because just like Halloween, it's a bundle of candy and mixing and just handfuls of different treats. So as per usual, I will break down each segment and give my overall thoughts. Unfortunately, the wraparound segment, Diet Phantasma, does follow in the suit of VHS Beyond and several other installments where it's the weakest part of it. But considering it's fine, it's not horrible, but it's fine, it's still better than some of the other ones I've seen. But I think what bugs me about it is that it was inserted too much. Generally, the wraparound segments are shown once in the beginning, maybe once in the middle, and then once at the end. But Diet Phantasma is inserted like 4 times or 5 times in total, and it felt like so jarring. Mostly just a way of showing off special effects, which is fine, but it was like the same thing in different contexts, and you're like, okay. And considering it was directed by Brian Ferguson, who's a first-time director, mostly known for working in music videos, it kind of shows. But there will be another first-time director duo that actually hits it pretty well out of the park. First proper segment, Coochie Coochie Coo, has an interesting way of starting us off, kind of jumping us into early 2000s and that kind of feeling of nostalgia, but not too much nostalgia. It was directed by Anna Slogovich, who made the movie Appendage, which was pretty good for what it was. It wasn't fantastic, but it was fine. The biggest issue I had with this segment in particular was it did the payoff too early. The build-up for it was kind of ruined. Also, one of the other issues I had with it is I'm about 70% sure that it was using AI. Not in for the special effects. I'm talking about like specifically for 1 or 2 segments where they're panning across and you see photos, supposed to be like old school photos, and you could tell it's so badly rendered, and it's like, it was kind of a nitpick. But the other issue I had were not the main creature. She was actually pretty gross in a fascinatingly gross kind of way. It was the other creatures. I don't want to really get into too many spoilers. The design should have been scary, and it came off more like goofy, I guess, is the weird way to put it. It's a little hard to explain. It's not a great start to this movie, but it does pick up from here. Ut supra sic infra is the next segment. It actually translates to as above, so below, so I'm just going to call it that from now so I don't jangle my tongue. This segment in particular was hyped for a lot of people because Paco Plaza is well known in the horror community as the creator of the Wreck franchise. And considering the Wreck franchise is one of, if not the most terrifying found footage movies, they have this expectation level that it has its moments. It's well paced. It's got some good drama, some build-up. The acting is phenomenal, surprisingly. And they do a lot with the time constraints. Like, you could tell he wanted to build more tension than he really had the opportunity to do. It's got a lot of atmosphere to it. It gives you the vibes of something's not right here, what's going on. We kind of want to know too. It has a decent payoff, not an amazing payoff, but it's fine. There was a couple moments where you squirm watching, but overall it was good. It was satisfactory in the expectation level, but I think because it was Paco Plaza, a lot of people were expecting a little bit more. I speak for myself when I was a little disappointed. I didn't hate it. I thought it was one of the best segments. Kind of expecting more. Maybe that's on me because it's Paco Plaza. It is what it is. But still a great segment in the VHS franchise, hands down. Now the next segment, Fun Size, directed by Casper Kelly. Yeah, it's disturbingly gross. Casper Kelly is best known for making the horror segments in the Cartoon Network lineup or Adult Swim lineup. I know him for creating the Scooby-Doo project, so he has some dabbling of the horror and comedic, and he does it obviously in this. But it goes from horror and comedic to pretty graphically gross, and then back to horror and comedic, and it has a decent teeter-totter of the two. I actually kind of dig the design of the creature in this segment. Fun Size, who's basically just a candy, gooey, gummy man. And I kind of like the design. As far as the VHS franchise is concerned with their creature designs, yeah, he kind of fits in. He really fits in with the different monsters from the different installments. I was really fascinated with how this segment used the POV and actually kind of poked fun a lot at basically found footage in general, because it literally says, oh, we're people in a found footage movie. I'm like, okay, being meta about it. Got it. Okay. Like I said, I don't want to get too much into it, but if there was a segment I would say, yeah, need to skip, this might be it. Not because it's bad, more because it's not for everyone. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, why I'm talking about that. It's just a little too sticky. I'll just leave it at that. Full disclaimer on the fourth one, kid print. This should be a movie. If there was ever a segment in the VHS franchise that could be a movie, there's only a couple I could really see being actually turned into a movie. This 100% has the potential to be a full-length movie. And I mean sincerely. I watched this segment and I was actually pretty worried. Not worried in the sense of, obviously I know it's a segment, but in the sense of like that dread you feel of like reality kind of setting in. It has that vibe of this could happen, this could have happened, and the way it's filmed, the way it's shot, the way it's pacing and delivery, misdirect, and the way it's done. Other than budget limitations, this could be a full-length movie, and I really would love to see it. It weirdly enough gave me vibes of videotape segments of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer at times. If you know, you know. I think because it's centered around kids, VHS, the franchise, has never really dabbled into hurting or killing kids. This segment, it's balls to the wall here. That's all it is. And I'm like, damn. The segment was actually directed by Alex Ross Perry, who I personally know as the director of several Ghost music videos, directing the Right Here, Right Now Ghost movie concert. If this is how he can make as far as a budget with the film limitation, I'm really excited to see if he can actually make a feature film, because I would love to see him make one. Honestly, this is one of the best segments in the VHS franchise. This is probably up there with like some of the best of the best. This is a great, phenomenal segment. I really mean that sincerely. It felt real and visceral. It just stuck with me after I saw it. This one specifically. The final segment, Home Haunts, really kind of encapsulated Halloween to the best of its ability. It felt nostalgic, it felt fun, it felt creepy and horror, and all of that just combined. It truly made me feel like watching the movie Trick or Treat, or watching a movie that's just centered around holidays and stuff. It's also really funny because there's this cynical neighbor who a lot of people may not recognize is played by Rick Baker, like the Rick Baker, as in the guy who made some of the best special effects in cinema. There's parts where he's in this haunted house that this family makes, and he's just crazy, like, nah, it looks like crap. And it's so funny because it's Rick Baker. Just him nitpicking. Just like, it's just a thing for fun, but it's just so funny in my head. And I know it's intentional because I'm like, come on. Like, you know, Rick Baker was just having a blast with it. I do love the transition of the goofy into the surreal reality of the creatures and stuff like that. And there's also obviously some commentary about teenager son who went from a loving, carefree, loving Halloween and, you know, embracing the holiday, and then being a cynical teenager, doesn't want to be seen as uncool and all that jazz, you know. We've all been there. I think this segment was kind of telling the audience and telling just people in general, just embrace the holiday. Love the holiday, love the goofiness, the goriness, the wackiness, the grossness, everything in between, and you'll have a good time. And I really like that because it felt like a love letter to every era of Halloween. And I think that's what's so good about this movie is, as opposed to the other VHS movies where they're just standalone movies, this is a movie that I feel is not just a great VHS installment, it's actually a great Halloween movie because it just embraces the holiday so much. With the exception of the Pedro Plaza installment, which isn't really Halloween related. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's hard to explain. But the majority of them are all centered around Halloween, and that's what I like about it. It's a love letter to Halloween. It's a love letter to those who love this time of year, like myself, and like you watching this, I'm assuming. And I think that's what makes it so cool, and it makes it kind of stand out away from the VHS franchise, while also being a part of the VHS franchise. It also makes me love the fact that it's for horror fans. The segment of Home Haunt is all first-time directors, and Diet Phantasma's first directors. There's multiple segments in the VHS franchise that are first-time directors. It's all experimental, and that's cool. That's what's really cool about the VHS franchise. I'm not going to necessarily put it in the rankings until at least this trilogy is completely done. For now, I'm just going to say I really recommend it. Come back for more horror haunts on Jack-O-Ween.